Tech by Tips.
Hello and welcome to another Tech by Tips video. Today's video is going to be another video request, and this request comes from Travis West. And the request says, I'm glad to see your subscriber count growing. Any interest in doing paperless NGX on Synology NAS walkthrough? Evernote is nearly doubling their annual subscription price, so I want to start self-hosting. Thank you for all you do. So let's go ahead and address this video request. Alright, let's go into the GitHub page. We can find Paperless NGX at github.com/paperlessngx/paperlessngx, the two words separated with a hyphen. And if we go here, it says that it is a community supported supercharged version of paperless, because there was a previous open source software called Paperless, which this is based on, and it allows you to scan, index, and archive your physical documents. So that makes sense. The name is paperless because you're converting all your paperwork into digital representation that then you can scan and index and all of that. And here's the website for the documentation, which is docs.paperless-ngx.com. If we go down here, we can see that this application has been released over 100 times, so that's pretty good, and it seems to be pretty frequent that they do those releases. It has 333 contributors, and the application is mainly written in Python, TypeScript, and HTML with CSS. Here we have basically a short summary of what it does. It's a document management system that transforms your physical documents into searchable online archives, so you can keep less paper. Makes sense. And it says it's a successor of the original Paperless and Paperless NG projects that were archived, and is designed to distribute the responsibility of advancing and supporting the project amongst a group of people. So that's interesting. It seems like the previous projects were kind of single person based, and they decided to then make this version that it was going to be fully community supported, and that's good. That makes the products grow even faster, because a lot of things that can be contributed to the software. And they have a demo that you can try on that URL that is provided for free by DigitalOcean for them, and you can log in using demo. If you want to try it out, you can go there and do that. And then it has more information, for example, about the features, getting started, and all that. Basically, it says that if you want to see the details of the features and stuff, we should go to the documentation, which is that website that we saw before. And here's basically like a screenshot of it. So let's go into that website, and if we go here, we see again a link to the demo if you want to see. And here's the features that it has. So it allows you to organize and index your documents, like allows you to put tags, correspondence types, and other stuff. And you store your data locally on your server, and that's never sent anywhere else. So that's really important. You host it yourself, you hold it all yourself. It allows the person to do OCR on their documents, so that's really good. The application performs OCR so that then you can search all your documents for things that you're looking for. That's really powerful. If you have a lot of files that you're basically storing and then you need to find something really quickly, that's going to help you out find it really quickly. It uses the Tesseract engine to recognize more than 100 languages, so it works not only in English, a bunch of other languages. That's really good too. It says that the documents are saved as a PDF format, which I would assume then it means that if you upload something, it'll convert it to a PDF. And it uses machine learning to add tags, correspondence, and all that to the document. And it says you can upload PDF, images, text files, and Office documents, and a bunch of other different formats. So there's a lot of stuff that we can see here, but that's the main thing, right? Here's just talking about the application, web interface. And then here tells you that it stores everything on the disk, and here it tells you how the capabilities for searching, and then email processing also, you have that. So it seems like they've added a lot of good features to this application. They have a lot of screenshots here that we can see. For example, here they have screenshots of an instance that is populated with documents, so we can see all the kinds of data that you can extract out of documents, and all the analysis and how you can search for things and it find them for you. Basically, you can read your documents and all that. It's pretty nice. You can put custom fields into it. So yeah, that's what it is. So let's set this up. To set it up, we can go into the GitHub, and then on the GitHub we should have a section here that talks about the Docker Compose, which is here if you see in getting started. And if we go into the Docker Compose section, it's going to take us to this section of the repository. And if you see, they have basically an example of the environment file here. That's the variables that you need to set up for this. But here's the Docker Compose files. You have several ones. You have, for example, the Docker Compose if you want to use SQLite, for example, or if you want to use Postgres as a database in the backend, or if you want to use MariaDB, or if you're going to deploy this using Portainer. So there's several versions. In our case, since we're going to be deploying this in a Synology NAS, I'm going to be using the SQLite version here and the environment file that they have here. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to go into our NAS. We're going to go into Container Manager and to File Station. In File Station, I'm going to go into the projects, and I'm going to create a new project here that is going to be Paperless NGX. And we have that there. And then I'm going to go into the configs where I store all the stuff for my containers, and I'm going to also create a folder there. So then in here, what we're going to do is we need to put the environment file first, because we don't do that directly from the interface here. So let's do that. Let's first go into the repository and copy the contents of the Docker Compose environment file. And let's go into our NAS over here, go into the projects, and then look for Paperless NGX, and then create a new text file that I'm gonna name .env. And then in here, when I open it with Notepad, I'm just gonna drop that here, and we need to make changes, right? So here it talks about the user ID that we're gonna map to this container. So in my case, it's gonna be 1026 and 100, because that is the default administrator that you create when you set up your NAS on the first time. And then here, if you're exposing the application to the public internet, then you need to specify this. So you would uncomment this and put the domain. In my case, I'm not going to do it. It's going to be hosted internally. And then here it says that you need to adjust this key if you want to make it available publicly. Again, I'm not going to make it public, so I'm not going to do that. But in case you were going to do that, then you need to put here a long string of random characters. We can use the command to generate a base64 string, and that'll be okay to put here. And then here the time zone, definitely we want to make sure that this matches. So in my case, it will be America, New York. And also the language. So in my case, I'm going to use English as the default language for OCR. So I uncomment this line. And then in here, it says you can install additional languages for text recognition, separated by a white space. And then it tells you that you need to see the list of the representation of the languages. So it's a 3-character language. So you separate them by the space. So for example, I could put Spanish space, and then I could put another here. So whichever you would be using, let's say Italian, for example, right? So that's how you would do it. I'm not uncommenting this. I'm just going to leave it like it is, like comment it out. But that's, if you want to do it, that's how you do it. And then I save this. I make sure that all the changes are saved, and I close out of here because I don't need it. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the SQLite version of the Docker Compose file. I'm going to copy that. And then in my NAS, I'm going to create a new folder for Paperless NGX. We pick that project folder that we created previously, and we create a Docker Compose file, and we drop the contents of that in here. And for now, I'm just going to save it so that we can see it in a bigger window. So we're not building it yet. And now we should be able to go into the Paperless NGX project, and then we see the YAML configuration here, and then we can make the changes that we need to run this application. Alright, so now we have to make notes of what we need to do to get this working. If we come here, we see that definition of services, and we have basically one container here that is a Redis, so basically like a cache for the database, and it's using the Redis 7 image from Docker Hub. and we can basically set a folder here for Redis. So what I'm going to do is, it needs to store the database information somewhere, right? So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to create in here in the configs, which is where I store all the container stuff, go inside Paperless NGX, and then I'm going to create a folder here for Redis. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use here to map to that path in the container. So I'm going to replace this thing here with that path. And then we have the slash data inside the container is going to be stored here. And that's all that we need for the cache database container. And then we also have another service here, which is the web server. So this would actually be the application Paperless NGX based on what we can see here. And that's stored in another container registry. So I'm assuming that they don't have it in Docker Hub. So this would be the actual application. And then in here, it says that it depends on the broker. So it'll only start this container once this is successfully started, the database cache. And it says that it listens on port 8000. So here you would pick, remember, this is outside and this is in the container. So on the outside, you can specify whichever port you want. Let's say I'm going to use 8075. I believe the last I used was 8076. And then the container is listening on 8000. So you need to access it from the IP of the NAS on port 8075. And now we have some volumes that we have to create for the data of this application. So we have, as we can see, 1, 2, 3, 4 paths. So let's create that. Let's go into here. Let me make this a little smaller so I can see. Oh, I cannot. So let's move this here. And I'm going to create a folder that is going to be for Paperless NGX. And in this one, I'm going to put another folder that is going to be the data. Another one that is going to be the media. And then another one that is going to be the export. And another one that is going to be the consume. Why? Because that's what it's saying that it needs here. So now we've specified what path inside our container is going to be mapping to that. So we go here, we copy the data folder, right click properties and get the path. And we replace that in here. So now the user src paperless data folder is going to be mapped to this folder inside our NAS. And we're going to do the same thing with the media. So it's going to be the same, but instead of data, it's going to be media. And for export, again, we go here and we're going to say that this is going to be export. And for consume, the same thing. We're going to put that here, consume. So now all the 4 different folders that we have created in the NAS are mapped to folders in the container. And now here, the environment file, remember I named it .env. So let's replace that to .env. And we're also specifying here that the paperless Redis instance, which is an environment variable that it needs, it's going to be pointing to the Redis service that we created up here on the address broker, which is the name of the service, and then the port 6379, which is the one that it uses by default. And we don't need the volumes anymore because instead of putting that there, I have directly specified it here in paths. So that should be all that we need to have the application run. So let's try to run it and see what we get. So save and build. And now this is going to take a little bit of time because it needs to pull the images and all that. So I'll be back when that is done. Alright, it says exit code 0 and we got the notification here saying that it was successfully built. So now we should be able to see containers here coming up. And if we go into here, we should see some files probably showing up somewhere. So let's see, probably on the data folder. There we go. We have the SQLite database. And on export, probably nothing. And media, there's a documents folder. All right, and we have some stuff that was created by the application. Let's see on Redis. There's nothing here, so it's okay. So we have files, and allegedly we should see a container running. Alright, something's kind of weird with my container manager. It's just loading and it doesn't show things, so I might have to restart my instance. But the application did run here when I go into the IP of the NAS on port 8075. So let me restart my NAS and see if I can get this sorted out, because I need to do something inside the container, so we need to get this going. Alright, I have restarted my NAS and now I can finally see the containers, but given that I shut it down improperly basically with a restart, and now I have to give it time to set itself up again. So we can see the Redis database is working fine, so it loaded the file and it's ready. But now we have the Paperless NGX that is currently doing some checks because of the restart that I did. Seems like it's listening already, so let's try to see if we can get back there to the user interface. It still says warning, so I'm not sure we're gonna get there yet. So in the case it doesn't load, and I'll just have to give it more time to do all its checks. Okay, here it is. It's working even though, oh, now it says healthy. Perfect. So now we're on our application here, but it says that we need to sign in, but we don't have a user. And we don't have like an option here to create a user. So we have to go into the documentation, and the documentation here has an option that talks about the super user that we need to create. And it says that we can do this when we run the first time, or we can just execute into the container and run this command. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go into the container and then we're gonna execute this command. So let's go into the NAS, go in here into the Paperless NGX application, and then I'm gonna say open a terminal to this container, and in here I'm gonna have to do open with a command, because with the latest version of DSM it doesn't automatically start a terminal with a proper shell, so we have to basically do it this way. So let's see if it responds. Alright, so this is the problem that I had mentioned in a previous video, where sometimes the terminal doesn't work. So this is a pain in the butt with the latest version of DSM, so I cannot get into this container directly from here. So I'm going to try to do it through the terminal by SSHing into the NAS, and then we'll see if we're able to do that. Alright, so I have logged into the NAS. I'm currently in the NAS. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to see which containers we have running, because we need to find the ID of that container, right? So I'm going to do a sudo docker ps, and then here's the container that I'm running. So I want to copy this ID, and then we're going to do a command to get into that container and run a shell. And that command is a sudo docker exec -it, and then we put that container identifier that we saw before, and then I want to get into a bash terminal, so I put the /bin/bash, and when I execute this, then I'm inside the container now in bash. So if I do an ls, we'll see that we have the paperless stuff here. So that's precisely what we needed, right? So now that we're inside this container, then we should be able to execute that command from the guide here. So let's copy this command and then execute that in here in the container. So that'll be, I cannot paste it, so okay, python 3 manage pi, and then create super user. And so now it is asking us to provide a name for the user. Let's say I'm going to name it admin for the sake of the video, and then an email address. So I'm going to say me@me.me for now, and then a password. I'm going to say admin123, admin123. Alright, so it says that it cannot be that because it's too close. That's really good. That actually does validation on that. So we can bypass that and use that. So let's do that. And now it should create a user. And there's a super user created. So now we should try to see if we can connect to the application using admin123. So let's see. Admin and then admin123. And here we go. We now have gotten inside our Paperless NGX. Obviously, if you're going to be using this, you should create a better username and password, something more secure, and specifically if you're going to be exposing this even more. Now you know how to create that user at least, and then, you know, if you're going to expose it, do the proper things in the configuration file, etc. But now we have the user interface for Paperless NGX, and we see here that it knows our username here. And it says that it's running and you're ready to start uploading documents to test the features, and here's a link to the documentation and everything, so it looks good. It also shows you here statistics about it. Currently we don't have any documents and no characters. Here's where you're gonna upload documents, And if you go here, it'll show you a tour of the application, so we can click there. And it says this is the dashboard. It can be used to show saved views such as the inbox, etc. And those settings are found on the settings saved views. And then here is where you drag and drop documents to start uploading them. And if you go here into the documents, that's where it shows the list of all your documents and allows you to filter and edit and all of that. If you go here, this is where the tool to filter. So you can find documents doing searches by tags, dates, searches, etc. Here you can combine several filters. Here's where you manage your tags. Here's where you manage email accounts and rules for importing documents directly from the mail. So that's really nice. You have that ability too. And here is where you can create workflows that give you control over document pipeline. Here is where you can see the tasks that are running on the files. And here's the settings of the application where you set that up. And that's it. That's the end of the tutorial. So basically it gives us an overview of everything. We have the dashboard and documents. Here we can see the correspondence that we have determined from our documents or that we have created. Here's the tags. We can see document types here once we have documents. The paths where we're storing documents. Custom fields that you create for the documents. The workflows. Mail. Trash in case you deleted something. Again, the settings here where you configure the application. And more configurations here, especially for OCR. You can have it all here. And the general settings. You can change the logo of your application and the title that shows up in the bar on top on your browser. Here you can also create groups and users. So you can create a set of users and you can add them to a group. So that's really good. It allows you to fine-tune and fine-grain the permissions of your application. And here we saw the tasks. We can see if something failed, that is in the process or is queued and all that. And the logs are here. And they also give you access to the link to the documentation here. So that's really nice. So what I'm going to do is just to kind of see something. I'm going to download some books from Gutenberg.org to see just how it looks in here. So let me get something here and see what we can see in the application. We can browse in the computer or drop them from here. So let's do that. Alright, so let me select all three of them. And then you see it uploads the files here to the system. So we will probably see that in the file tasks here eventually. Well, not right now. So dashboard is still uploading. Let's give it some time. Alright, the first one has completed uploading. So we see the statistics are refreshing now. So maybe we'll see a change here soon saying that we have one document. The other ones are still uploading. So we got to be patient with that. And let's see how this behaves. Let's go into documents, and here we go. We have the first one here, the story of the Patriot, and we see that we have one document now. If we go back here into the dashboard, now it says we have one total document, and we have 550,000 characters in that one book. So that's really nice. It does some kind of analytics on the text that you upload. So let's give it more time here, and we'll see how that looks once we have more than one there. Alright, now it's saving the last document and it should be good now for us. We can dismiss the part here. And then if we go into the documents, now we see the 3 documents that we uploaded, right? And it has information that it also found on its own. For example, the date of the creation of the documents. You see, this one was on May 1st, 2004. And it says that I added it and modified it today. And this one September 2004, and this one November 2021. So that's pretty cool. And then if we select the book, then we have options here, like we can tag the book or the document, whatever it is. You can specify a correspondent for that, what type of document it is, storage path, and all of that. So I'm not going to go into all the details about this. You can, read about it yourself. But you have several options that you can do here. You can reprocess the file, you can rotate and all that. You can merge documents together, so that's really good. And you can download it too if you need. And if you want to view it, you have the option here that has the eye. If you click on the eye, then it opens the document on your browser. So you can see it was a text document, so it opens a text file here. So we also have the option here to open. And if you click that, then you have the option to change metadata about the document and all of that. So you can edit all of that, including the content. So that's very nice. Here you have a history also of everything that has happened with this document. You can set permissions and all of that. So that's very, very nice. We can go back here into the documents, and we have the option here to download also. So as you can see, very nice. You can do all of this, and you can probably search in here for something. So let's search for the word bequest, and here we go. It filtered it out, and it only gave us the one document that has the word bequest in it. So that's very nice. You're able to search inside the contents of the document and also probably the name. So lovely. Let's get a very common word, and as you can see now everything shows up. So it searches the contents and the titles and all of that. So yeah, that's gonna be it. This application, is pretty straightforward. If you have questions about it, you can certainly always go back into the documentation website, which is very well written, and just figure out what you need. But yeah, I hope this video was useful. So another request completed, and if you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed. Remember, it helps us grow, it helps the channel get exposure. Maybe in the coming months we can get even sponsorship, so I can monetize the contents in a way that is not intrusive to you, and focus more. Maybe while doing that, then we have the opportunity to focus more on the channel and release more often. And also remember, I'm not monetizing the channel, so there shouldn't have been any ad on my video. I rely entirely on your support. I'm not making any money from YouTube on this. So if you want to support me, you can go to the link in the description down below, or donate through Bitcoin. The Bitcoin address is also below, and I'll really appreciate it. Also remember, I always try to reply to you as soon as possible. I make videos based on your requests also, so feel free to comment in the comment section below on things that you would like to see, and I'll add it to the queue and work on it as best as I can. That's gonna be it for this one. Take care.